Alright guys, hope you all had a great weekend, you're doing good and keeping safe of course. Now I can't believe we're only 5 days away from Christmas already as of me recording this video. I'm actually recording it on Monday, it may not go up till later because our internet has gone down, which is a real pain. Now this year has gone by in a blur and I'm looking forward to 2021, as I'm sure most of you are, because it can't be worse than this year, right? Well, anyway, on Friday the Division 2 development team released an article with a weekly update. Now this is something they've been doing for a long while now, but usually they just go over everything we've learned from state of the game from that week, which I usually cover, so I never really talk about this Friday article. Obviously this week, with no state of the game, I was interested to see what they had to say, and sure enough, optimization was the main meal, and it appears the cost of optimization is getting nerfed, it's getting reduced. Now one thing you've got to do though before we begin is actually drop a like down below and subscribe to stay up to date with all of the videos. And with that out of the way, let's talk about this and other changes or solutions that I think we need. So before I go over the actual article guys, I just want to show you where I'm at with my optimization materials at this point. Now I would say that since TU12 has gone live, I've probably maybe done about 150 to 200 shade levels. I've played this by far the most since TU12 has come out than I have previous to that by quite a way. And this is what I've amassed so far. Now what you're going to notice, and you guys already know this, but there are 21 different resources that you need in order to optimize all different types of gear. And I'm going to talk about that in my solutions feedback stuff in a moment. But I basically just wanted to show you where I'm at. Now field recon data, for example, I get a lot of because I do control points. I believe you get it I believe you get 5 per control point you complete, or I think you get some every time you level up as well. And that's why this particular resource here is fairly easy to get, I would say, and why I've got the maximum amount at the moment, which is pretty annoying because I don't actually have enough of the other types of materials that I need. Stuff like stuff like this, like your polycarbonate and your carbon fiber and steel. I don't have enough of that in order to reduce this field recon data amount. So that's capped at 500 and I can't get any more, which is a little bit frustrating. And then as you can see from my other stuff, especially where it's like faction materials, I basically have got none. Got like no faction materials whatsoever. Riker's tactical assessment, I've got 17 since TU12, and I've put in, like I said, I've put in quite a lot of hours since TU12. In terms of weapon materials like the shotgun alloys and stuff, again, fairly low considering I've put in, again, a lot of hours and I've collected a lot of items, and most of the stuff I have collected I just get rid of. I just dismantle it because I want those resources. And also I am opening up all the world crates, all the loot boxes that I never used to open up. I'm opening them up, and if there is a high-end piece of gear in there, obviously it will drop very low, then I am just deconstructing that and getting the materials. Assault rifle alloy, sure, 206, that's fine. In terms of gear, I've amassed quite a lot of gear weaves, but the thing is, it looks like a lot. You're looking at 318 backpack weaves, right? That's 318 deconstructed backpacks to get that many weaves, and I can tell you that I've not crafted any backpack weaves. The only thing that I've crafted is mask weaves, and I believe I may have crafted some gloves weaves, and that's about it. And also these hyenas tactical assessment, because I was going to use that for an optimization bit. But aside from that, I've not done I've done some crafting obviously, but I've not done huge amounts just because it requires so many materials. It's not even the resource part, it's the materials that it requires in order to do some, and a lot of them just don't make any sense. For example, like this assault rifle alloy bundle. Now I could use this, but I really don't want to because there are other stuff that I need. For example, these gloves, I really need the gloves more than anything, and these masks. And if I start using these materials, then for example here where we've got carbon fiber, steel and receiver components, then you go down to here, for example, knee pads, I need carbon fiber for that. I need polycarbonate for this, and you just run out so quickly. It's almost impossible. But what I want to show you guys just briefly is, with all of that stuff that I've amassed so far, which to me is a lot, because I've been playing a lot and I've been getting rid of a lot of stuff, it feels like a lot. Let's have a look at my gloves here. So I can actually update these gloves, right, to go from 8.3 to 9.1, which is 0.8%, which is a low amount, right? But look at how many glove weaves I need. 242. I've got 213. I have enough. 109 field recon data. And then the other ones, as you can see there, we've got, I can't remember what the other ones are, but basically it's using up, like this one recal is using up pretty much all of the materials I've amassed over the last 150, 100 to 150 shade levels, just in one recal here at 0.8%. It is a lot, and there are people that would say that actually they don't want this changed and they don't want it reduced, and I can see their point of view on that. And in many ways, I kind of don't, because I'm actually enjoying farming for this stuff. But I also can't sit here and say and look at this and go, that's fair, especially for people who are not grinding it enough, or even if they're just playing a couple of hours a day, they're just simply not going to get enough to optimize stuff. So let's take a look at the article from the devs, and I'll go over my solutions and feedback to these problems. Alright, so here's the section about optimization costs from last Friday's article, guys, and it reads, optimization station cost. We've seen a lot of community discussions related to the cost of optimizing your gear through the new optimization station feature introduced with title update 12. And we wanted to provide you with a quick update from our side. First of all, we hear you loud and clear. After looking at the feedback, usage data and other metrics, we have decided that we will decrease the time investment needed to optimize a piece of your build. Concrete details on what those changes will entail and when they will go live will come early next year, as soon as we've nailed down the new values and found an appropriate release date. Now, I will just say this one thing before I move on to the solutions and feedback, and that's I could have told you so. I think everyone on the PTS gave this feedback initially. A little bit surprised it made it to TU12, and obviously now that they've got the data, they've basically just going back to what the PTS, what people on the PTS had already said. But I don't, like I said, I don't think just decreasing the amount, the time investment is going to be enough, guys. And I want to go over those solutions. Now that I've shown you what I've been able to accrue over the past kind of 13 days or so, I want to talk about solutions for the optimization station, because just decreasing the amount of materials needed doesn't quite cut it, in my opinion. In fact, I hope when they do decrease the amounts, it's by a minimal amount. And I say that with the following solutions in mind, so hear me out first. Okay, so for number one, right now it doesn't matter what difficulty you play, how well rolled that piece of gear is, whether it's named or it's an exotic, the amount of resources you get from dismantling those items are the same. It's one per item. I'd like to see a change where difficulty or loot quality play a defining factor in how many materials drop. So for example, if they went the difficulty route, then normal would be 1 per item dismantled, hard would be 2, challenging 3, and so on, with legendary items awarding 5 per dismantled item. Or, if they decide to go the loot quality route, then anything below 50% would be 1, below 62, and you get the gist. The advantage the loot quality route has is it does mean if you play on normal, with a small chance, there is a very small chance of getting top loot, means there's also a small chance of getting the opportunity to dismantle that loot and get multiple resources. The difficulty route wouldn't allow that to happen, so that's the main kind of differences. If this were implemented, then as I play on heroic, and this is me personally, so this is a kind of almost a selfish way of looking at it, but as I play on heroic, I'd be getting 4 times the amount of resources I do now, and if that were the case, then would the resources need to be nerfed? I mean, yes, they likely would, because of people who don't play on heroic and play on lower difficulties, but again, that question would have to be asked, and I really think that this route could be something the devs look at for future changes to this optimization station system. For number 2, right now, name bosses, I don't believe they drop faction materials, or it may just be that some do and some don't. I'm not totally sure, but I think this should happen, and if it's not happening consistently, it should happen every time for a name boss. It should drop faction materials. I'd also like to see a big increase in the amount of resources these bosses drop, along with rogue encounters. I believe rogue encounters only drop about 4 or 5 of a certain amount of currencies. So I think it's about 5 different currencies, and to me that's just way too low for an encounter that is fairly uncommon. Again, this would serve to help everyone, but as the frequency of these encounters are increased with difficulty, it does actually reward players who play at higher difficulties, without completely abandoning those that don't, because it rewards everyone in the long run. For number 3, we've got targeted loot in the game, so why don't we have targeted materials? If not, and I know that's a big ask, but if not, I think the amount of different materials required is just over the top. I mean, the optimization has become a spreadsheet simulator, and what frustrates me the most is I'm being forced to play activities I don't want to engage in order to obtain the materials that I need to actually optimize my gear. I'm not the biggest fan of that at all. You know, sure, I could just craft the materials, but I'd much rather just play control points, the one game mode, or the one activity in the game that I really enjoy. I'd much rather just play that, get all the materials that I need, even if it takes me longer than have to go into the dark zone or have to go to the summit or whatever it is to get those materials. And for number 4, why doesn't purple gear drop currency? And I'm asking this because over the last week I've started opening world loot boxes a lot more because, you know, there's a chance that it will have high-end gear which I can deconstruct and I can get those optimization materials, that gold in the game. Now, this was a tip I was going to actually be included in for a future video for anyone who doesn't open world boxes, and it's probably worth doing at the moment. But I will say, more often than not, it's normally purple loot, so it would be great if these could be deconstructed for currency as well for the optimization station. Would actually make going out of your way for 10 seconds worth it. And again, on a personal note, as someone who spends a lot of the time doing control points and just roam in the open world, it would encourage me even more than I do now to actually go out of my way and find those world loot boxes knowing I'm going to get some optimization currency. Now, those are just 4 things that I can think of, and I'm sure there is going to be more. I've seen people saying maybe it should just work as it did in the Division, which I kind of understand, but the devs explicitly said they didn't want this to replace the gear economy in the game. Some of the optimization station did in the Division, and I don't think most people want that either. They don't want players hopping in for, you know, a week or 2, optimizing all of their gear and then just dipping out, which is what happened in the Division. They don't want this to become the end of the game, basically. They wanted this to be something you have to really work for, something for the 1%, basically. A system that's kind of just there in the background that you can kind of use now and then rather than be there all of the time. And if that's the case, I suspect the changes they will make will be minimal. And like I said, if they just reduced the 21 different resources needed down to a more manageable number, less of the spreadsheet, and just make it just more manageable for players, they increase the drop rates from certain things or just guarantee drops for certain things from certain people or locations, I don't think the devs need to reduce the quantity too much, but let me know what your thoughts are down below. But that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thanks very much for sticking around all the way till the end. It really does help me out. I should have a video coming tomorrow, but if not, I'll probably have a video coming Christmas Day. You know, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and that sort of stuff. But yep, that's it. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and until the next one, epic out.